Hey guys, what up? It's your boy Khan, TDK, Mr. So Real, and in today's video we have the state of the game. This is the state of the game that has that important information that all of you have been wanting to hear about 1.4. So without further ado, let's get in this.
Okay, welcome everyone to State of the Game for the 20th of October. It's 20th of October today, right?
I think so.
2016. I always get it wrong.
Alright, so as I said in the intro, this State of the Game video is going to have some very important information from Hamish about the release date of the 1.4 patch. You guys have all been wanting to know when is it coming out, and if you don't know, I'll let Hamish tell you when it's going to be out.
Look, I'm not going to be that guy who's like, wait around to the end of the stream for some important news, because, well, I could do that, but then you're waiting for half an hour while you try and get what you came here for. What you came here for is a release date for 1.4. That release date is next Tuesday. Yes!
Yes.
25th of October!
Finally.
25th of October, okay guys? 25th of October, all platforms, free for everyone. That's it.
Yeah.
So the maintenance time, just so you guys know, will be 9:30 to 12:30. So a 3-hour maintenance, but it's kind of shifted by half an hour from what our usual. But it's on a Tuesday, not a Thursday. So the 25th, not the 27th. There you go. That's what's happening. Yeah, and then chat's going through at 8:30 GMT. But yes, that's cool. Japan, I have no idea. There's so many different ones. I don't have the patch size on PC, but just to give you guys an indication, on PS4 it's 11 gigs. And on Xbox One, it's looking to be about 5.7 gigs. So I don't know what that means for PC, but we'll find that out, and I'll get that information out to you guys as soon as I can. What I want to do today is kind of talk back on that whole process of the PTS that's new for us. All right. It's already happened. I'm being told not to mention the patch size, but it's already happened. What you going to do? Disregard what I said. I'm not fired. The people who told me that information will be fired. Jonathan. All right.
Okay, so that's right. The 1.4 patch is going to come out on Tuesday. It is going to be out on Tuesday, and it is going to be available for everyone from PC, Xbox, to PlayStation 4. If you are ready for that, then it's time to buckle up, strap in. I hope you've been doing whatever you needed to do to get ready for the 1.4 patch. In particular, taking care of those mods and trying to get as many mods as you can. They are going to be changed once the patch goes live, so please keep that in mind. The weapons should be about the same. They may perform a little bit different, but a lot of the talents and things should be the same unless the talents have been removed. Keep that in mind. I did do a good or garbage video telling you about a very, very good PP19. Hope you check that out. You still have a little bit of time to go and pick that up if you see this before the 1.4 patch goes live on Tuesday. You may want to pick that up.
There are some small changes from the PTS, from week 4 of the PTS to live. Not many. A lot of bug fixing and that sort of thing. Yeah. The biggest one, in my opinion, is the loot in Underground. We were seeing a lot of purple drops and that sort of thing. I know that was kind of a little bit strange. There will now be a higher chance for high-ends from those veterans and elites, right?
Yep.
So that obviously caters more towards the hard and challenging modes, other than the normals. So, but that's cool. And a lot of ballistic shield fixes, which is really, really nice.
Yes. And just generally functionality fixes like that. But otherwise, PTS4, what they played is pretty much what they're going to see.
Exactly.
So one thing that's coming in the 1.4 patch is a lot of bug fixes that they haven't really been talking so much about that are very important. They have been working on, I guess, for the longest time. Small annoyances and things like that have been fixed. The underground has also been tweaked a bit so that high ends drop more frequently from more difficult content so that you can better get some gear and things like that for the time that you spend in the underground. These are all really good things that are being added, so they're really worth taking note of. The ballistic shield has also seen a little bit of a tweak, maybe a bit of a buff. I'm not sure exactly, but you'll be able to check all of that stuff out in the patch notes.
I and this is for the podcast, so you can hear it. That's 21 pages of patch notes. We're not going to go through those today, but you will be able to find these online. I think exclamation patch notes will get you to either these ones or the last ones, but we'll update that command in chat for you. But yeah, I'm not going to do it again. I can read through 21 pages of patch notes. That's
And the
unfortunate.
yeah,
Yeah.
the amount of stuff we did for this patch.
There's a lot, and this isn't even like these are the key points that people
Oh,
want
yeah.
to across. Obviously, we
Yeah.
could have made this 100 pages with things like nav mesh fixes, like
Yeah.
all these little
Stability, performance.
How many bugs did we end up fixing? Something like thousands, right?
Yeah.
Thousands of bugs.
Exactly.
Which it's
Yeah.
not something to be, proud that they existed, but we're really proud of the quality that we're putting out and
like
the
I said,
gameplay.
a lot of those range from things that we have talked about to things like moving small things.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
There's a lot of tweaks. but
Annoyances.
There's a lot.
So Hamish had a whole big book, 21 pages of patch notes, tons of things to know, and thousands of things that have been changed and fixed. Hopefully they fixed some of those ammo crates in the PvE that just didn't do anything or had you opening fences. You guys know exactly what I'm talking about. Hopefully they fix all of that stuff and the game runs a lot better and is smoother and has a better performance. For me personally, I'm really interested to see if the performance of the game is better optimized and working better. Lag has always been an issue personally for me that I have never been able to forgive the Division about, and hopefully with these thousands of fixes, some good is going to come of it. I'm really looking forward to that and seeing how the game shapes up once it drops on Tuesday.
One of the questions that I wanted to ask you is how did this whole PTS process, which is the first time we've done it for the Division, and the first for a Ubisoft game actually, how did that change the way you guys work? That was kind of different to what we've done before.
You want to
Yeah. So, I mean, it's, first of all, it was an awesome experience. Being able to have the freedom to, we could just focus on fixing and balancing the game, and then we could immediately, within a week's time, basically, get the build in the hands of our players, and then immediately see feedback, right?
Yeah.
Like, we're talking the Division forums, Reddit,
Twitter,
YouTube,
everywhere.
Twitch, Twitter, like, all these mediums, right? Like, emails even from people. Like, I mean, it was absolutely fantastic to get such, feedback so quickly, right?
Yeah.
So
And then
it's
be able
almost
to
like in
update it
real
for the
time.
next week. And
Yeah, exactly.
And also
then
the fact that
see the reactions.
it's a public space, so none of what we're doing for the next patch was secret. So we could have a dialogue. We could talk
That's
to
very
people.
true.
We could talk to people on the forums and on Twitter and wherever, and just get a real-time dialogue with our players.
So this PTS is actually the first time that it has happened for Ubisoft. This is the first time that they have done a PTS. And for them, they say that it has been very good and they loved it. And the social media interaction and having that spontaneous correspondence with people playing the game, checking it out and seeing if the changes were what they wanted was a good thing. Unfortunately, for the console players, we didn't really have much say-so. And it's really kind of something that I am worried about when it comes down to how does the aiming and the, gunplay transition from PC into the console. As many of us know, the mouse and keyboard are far more accurate than having a controller. Will that play a part in the console version of the game, or will everything be great? A little bit worried about some of those things. A lot of you really wish that they did something for the console, but unfortunately, we were left out in the cold this time. Hopefully in the future, if they do a PTS, we'll see some love. I guess we'll have to wait and see.
Well, let's be honest. Like week one, people were, super stoked with. And this is the whole process. This is what it should be. And then week two, there were things that people were less happy with, which is great because it's on a PTS.
Yeah.
So we want those things to happen because I feel like if you have a PTS and people are just saying, this is good all the time, you kind of want to identify what's not good so you don't do that when you release live, right? I'm assuming I'm not...
And it's going to swing back and forth because you got to test your boundaries, but the changes were smaller and smaller each week, and I think we're pretty happy with what we're putting out for 1.4 for the most part, for what we could do within this time span.
So basically, the PTS did what it was supposed to do. It let them kind of see the boundaries that were acceptable for players and what weren't. And this is kind of how a lot of this controversy started with the PTS, letting them know that some things were good and some things were garbage. I I didn't play the PTS, so I can't really comment on it specifically, but I really just hope that since this 1.4 is closer to the week 4 version of the PTS, that it is what people wanted in terms of the basic getting and receiving loot type things from the game. Unfortunately for me, I'm not that worried about the gear or the loot. I'm really more worried about the actual core experience. And a lot of you have kind of chimed in and said, well, the game is much easier now, so it's going to be boring. If you want to know my opinion about that and you haven't seen my Real Talk video, you need to check that out. But for those of you who have seen that video, you already know, and it's no point in me preaching to the choir. A lot of you are actually on the same page, so we'll see what happens Tuesday. I just hope the game is much better and becomes more fun with a quicker time to kill.
Yes, the PTS is something we'd like to do in the future as well for 1.5 and survival and these sorts of things. And I know people have been asking about survival a lot. I'm very, very excited about survival. I've talked about this many, many times.
I am too.
But we aren't talking about survival today.
No.
But now that 1.4 release date and 1.4 is coming out very, very soon, guess what we're going to be talking about next?
Yeah.
It's going to be awesome. It's going to be so cool.
So we can all expect to see more versions of the PTS in the future with the 1.5 patch and also with survival. Survival is going to be next, so expect maybe, I wouldn't say in the next state of the game, but probably they'll hint and kind of talk about it. More than likely in the next state of the game, they're going to talk about the data and the changes that have been made and probably give a little bit more talk about 1.4. I really don't expect to hear too much about survival in the next PTS, not PTS, but in the next state of the game. But the one after that, I'm pretty sure you can bank on expecting to hear some stuff about survival then. So probably give it 2 weeks if you're waiting to hear about survival. But expect next week probably be more 1.4 talk.
Frederick, obviously you're working on the weapons side of things. People are asking, M1A, where does it sit now? The SVD, where does it sit now? What's kind of been your thought process behind some of the weapons?
Well, obviously, not maybe obviously. So there's this balance between functionality and raw power that we're trying to reach this time around.
Yeah.
That's sort of why you see something like the SVD. Week 1, people were going, why is it so low in damage? And now they're saying, it's probably one of the better marksman rifles because there's a lot of functionality to being really stable, for instance. So we've tried to hit that personality equals power with all of the weapons.
Yeah.
There's going to be adjustments to come. There's going to be things that are best in slot.
Yeah.
And we'll look at that for the next patch.
Yeah, of course.
So when the next patch comes out, 1.5, expect to see more balancing on weapons. Frederick seems to be really keen on adjusting the weapons after getting the data and seeing how everything plays out. So that should be one of the key focuses, especially with PvP, more than likely getting the look once 1.5 comes out. I'm not 100% sure about how these weapons are going to play out. I do want to see what they're talking about with this functionality versus raw power. It should be interesting to know if the gear mods are really going to play a huge chunk in how people really feel about the weapons after they get good mods or have nothing but bad mods. You may have a really good gun that just needs the right mods, but never actually get those mods. If that becomes a problem, I think people will start to complain. But with the reduced time to kill, I'm pretty sure that no matter what weapon you get, you'll probably still be kind of okay.
Just so people know, 1.5 in survival, which are going to be next on the horizon after 1.4, it's going to be a similar structure to what happened with Underground. 1.5, that portion of it is free to everyone at the same time. and then survival comes on Xbox and PC first, and then PlayStation afterwards. But that's, 1.5 and survival, remember those are separate things, but they're kind of tied at the same time.
Yeah.
It's a little bit confusing, but remember what happened on Underground, and that's your kind of roadmap for that sort of thing.
So again, we're back on to talks of 1.5 and survival. This stuff is going to be coming up, and it is something to take note of. And it's something that I guess I really should address for a lot of the subscribers and fans of my page, is that 1.5 is going to be, I guess, the balancing that they're going to do with weapons and PvP. And survival is going to be the DLC that people will have to pay for if you are not one of the, I guess, season pass owners. Now, with that being said, it's going to be a lot like Underground, where PS4 people had to wait a month. Now, during the summer, for me personally, as a PS4 player, that was extremely painful, watching all of these famous YouTubers who have gotten so many shout outs from the developers that they obviously seem to like a lot, get a lot of this content well before the stuff even dropped, and started talking about it and giving their opinions. Now, as someone who does make videos for The Division, and I know a lot of you really enjoy my videos, I haven't had access to the PTS. I'm sorry about that, but that's something that happened on their end. As a consumer, I couldn't really put more money into the Division just to play the PTS, just to play the Underground, because it kind of makes me feel like I'm losing connection with my subscribers and with my fans. I am a PS4 player. I've always been a PS4 player. I do not hate the computer or PC. I do not hate the Xbox. But what I will say is that if developers tend to make games that they want to put cross-platform, they do have to consider that some of the functionality, some of the features, and some of the things that they come up with do really affect their fan base. Again, I'm not in control of this stuff, so I have to do the best that I can with what I have. Now, survival is going to come much later, again, same as the Underground, on the PS4. Expect to see that content from me when it drops on PS4. I'm still not going to buy the PC version of the game just to talk about the same stuff that I guess the developers don't really want to hear me talk about. They seem to have already chosen who they like to have covering their game and who they really want to kind of promote their stuff. And I assure you, I am not on that list. But as a consumer, as a real player, as someone who does enjoy talking to the fans and giving an honest opinion, when it is available, I definitely 100% for surely tell you exactly how I feel about it. The same as when 1.4 drops, I will spend some time with it and tell you what I think about it. And we can talk about it and see how it goes. But if you're a PS4 player, expect to have quite a bit of drought for new content. There isn't going to be any real new content for you to do until survival. There'll be balancing changes and bug fixes in 1.4, but new content, you can forget about it. And that's kind of a shame, especially when a lot of people on my Twitter and even in the comments for other videos are saying, I wonder if it's too late, especially with Battlefield and other games kind of coming out and looking very hard at the amount of players who have left the Division. Is it enough to make the game more viable for people to come back? I don't know. It's up to you guys. What do you think?
In your opinion, what are some of the best changes? Obviously, the world tier system is kind of, I guess, your baby and people on your team. But what apart from world tiers? Because it's not going to give you that like low, the world tiers are the best thing in 1.4. What apart from that, what do you think are some of the best things coming in 1.4? And
I feel like I'm maybe cheating a little bit when I just say time to kill. So, like, to me, like my kind of favorite part of 1.4 has really been the time to kill changes, because at 1.3, especially when you started reaching 35 enemies and 34 enemies,
Yeah, it got kind of ridiculous.
So for Drew, one of the best things about the game is the time to kill. I'm really looking forward to this, and I'd like to see how this really transitioned into play. If you feel like a badass and if you feel awesome, then that is great, and I think that is a very welcome addition, and I don't think anyone can really complain about feeling and being more powerful.